In a stunning revelation that exposes the shadowy underbelly of political power, a former high-ranking official from the palace is now entangled in not just a massive kickback scandal tied to the upcoming 2025 national budget, but also accusations of manipulating appointments within the Department of Justice. But here's where it gets controversial. Could this be a sign of deeper systemic corruption, or just one man's ambitious overreach? Let's dive into the details and see what unfolds. Ombudsman Jesus Crispin Remulla, speaking out on Wednesday, pointed fingers at Adrian Bersamin, the ex-Undersecretary of the Presidential Legislative Liaison Office, PLLO. For those new to this, the PLLO acts as the government's key bridge to Congress, facilitating smooth coordination between the executive branch and lawmakers from within the Malacanang complex itself. Bersamin Remulla claimed didn't just stick to his legislative duties. He allegedly dipped into the DOJ's appointment processes, raising eyebrows about undue influence. This bombshell came in response to questions about whether the ombudsman would investigate claims from Roberto Bernardo, a former undersecretary at the Department of Public Works and Highways. Bernardo alleged that Bersamin pocketed billions in illicit gains from dubious flood control initiatives, a narrative that paints a picture of funds being funneled through questionable channels in the budget proposals for 2025. Remulla didn't mince words, stating, "That's been happening for some time. He's on my radar." There's been a lot of buzz about his dealings. We've seen instances in the DOJ where it seemed like he was meddling in the hiring process. Remulla elaborated that during Bersamin's time at the DOJ, there were suspicions that he interfered with selections for key positions. Certain individuals weren't placed as they should have been, or appointments were made directly from Malacanang without so much as a nod in our direction. And in our opinion, he played a role in that, Remulla added. It's a bold accusation suggesting that presidential appointments, typically requiring careful vetting, might have been swayed by personal agendas. For beginners in politics, think of it like this. Government jobs aren't just handed out. They're supposed to follow rules to ensure fairness and competence. If someone's pulling strings behind the scenes, it undermines the whole system, potentially leading to unqualified people in powerful roles. The team at GMA Integrated News is actively pursuing Bersamin for his side of the story, and will update with his response once it's available. This adds a layer of intrigue. Will he defend himself, or will silence speak volumes? Remulla, who previously served as DOJ secretary, lent credence to Bernardo's explosive claims. Bernardo described collaborating with Bersamin and another former undersecretary, Trygve Olaivar, from the Department of Education, to shuffle enormous sums of money via armored vans. It's a scheme that sounds straight out of a thriller. Moving cash between vehicles, emptying one to refill another, effectively laundering funds on the move. They were essentially teaming up to clean money, as Bernardo describes it. That's a serious crime right there, transferring funds from one secure truck to another, then abandoning the empty one for refills, Remulla explained. And this is the part most people miss. Such operations could easily mask bribes or kickbacks under the guise of legitimate budget allocations, making detection a real challenge. Notably, Bersamin is the grandnephew of Lucas Bersamin, who stepped down as executive secretary just this Monday. The younger Bersamin held the PLLO undersecretary post before his reported resignation alongside Olaivar. Remulla acknowledged the gravity, calling these accounts harrowing and plausible, but emphasized the need for solid proof. "Those stories are downright spine-chilling," he said. "I find them credible. Of course, we'll scrutinize any additional evidence we can gather." Yet, even with these damning tales, the Ombudsman's office doesn't jump to conclusions. Braft probes kick in whenever reliable tips surface, Remulla noted. "When red flags go up, we start examining folks right away. No matter their status. If there's a claim, we assess its plausibility because we have the authority to investigate on our own initiative." He added that a formal preliminary inquiry requires a sworn affidavit detailing the accusations. This saga raises thorny questions. Is Bersamin a victim of political rivalries, or a master manipulator exploiting his connections? And here's a controversial angle. Some might argue that in a system rife with patronage, these allegations are just business as usual, rewarding loyalty over merit. But does that make it right? Do you believe these revelations will finally spark meaningful reforms in how appointments and budgets are handled? Or will they fade into the noise of endless scandals? Is there a counterpoint here? Like perhaps the need for stronger whistleblower protections to encourage more insiders to come forward without fear? We'd love to hear from you. Agree, disagree, or share your own insights in the comments below.